Right, well, good afternoon everybody and welcome to today's meeting of the Cabinet. Today is Tuesday the 8th of November 2022. Obviously we do have quite a few agenda items today. As we all know, we are in the PERDA period at the present time, as we've got two by-elections taking place this Thursday in both Grantham St Wilfram's and the Bourne East wards. Just first, I'd like to thank our team of professional officers that are operating that election, and I hope everybody exercises their right to vote on Thursday at the ballot box. Therefore, moving on with the agenda, and we'll start with the register of attendance, and apologies for absence. I believe I'm handing over to you, James. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader. I've got apologies from Councillor Annie Mason and Councillor Nick Robbins, and if I can just do a quick roll call. Councillor Callum Cook.
Present.
Councillor Adam Stokes.
Present.
Councillor Robert Reid.
Present.
Councillor Rosemary Trollope-Bellew.
Present.
Councillor Mark Whittington.
Present.
And Councillor Linda Wootton.
Present.
Thank you, Leader.
Wonderful, thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 2 on our agenda packs, and this is from pages 3 to 9. We'll go through them on a page-by-page basis, just for any clarification or points you'd like to raise. So page 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Do I have a proposer for those minutes, please? Looking from the floor.
I'll propose.
Thank you, Councillor Stokes, and a seconder, Councillor Reid. Could we please indicate for all those in favour of the minutes as put? Thank you. Anybody against? And any abstentions? Wish you weren't here. Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to agenda item number 3, which is disclosures of interest. As you know, your standing declarations are on our website, but if there is anything at any point in this meeting that you'd like to disclose, then please do not hesitate to do that at any point during this meeting. Therefore, we move on to items for recommendation to our Council. The first one being the Statement of Licensing Principles 2023 to 2026. This is on pages 11 to 73, and I'd like to hand over to Councillor Linda Wootton to present this report.
Thank you, Leader. The review of the Gambling Statement of Principles. South Kesteven District Council, as the licensing authority for gambling premises, issues a range of permits to authorise gambling facilities within the area. The existing statement was published in January 2020. The Gambling Act 2005 requires licensing authorities on or before each successive period of 3 years to prepare a statement of principles that they propose to apply in the exercise of their functions under the Act, and to publish that statement. The statement sets out the general approach the Council will take when carrying out its regulatory role under the Act and promoting the 3 licensing objectives, which are preventing gambling from being a source of crime or disorder, being associated with crime or disorder, or being used to support crime, ensuring that gambling is conducted in a fair and open way, protecting children and other vulnerable persons from being harmed or exploited by gambling. There are no changes proposed to the intent or direction of the Statement of Principles. Updates have been made to ensure it reflects the current local profile and guidance and continues to be fit for purpose whilst promoting improvements. The review has been undertaken in line with legislative requirements. The draft statement is at Appendix 1 with proposed revisions to the current statement in red text. Appendix 2 outlines the proposed changes in detail. Statutory consultation was undertaken between the 22nd of August and the 18th of September 2022. 13 responses were received. The consultation report is at Appendix 3, and a summary of the feedback, comments received and responses to this are at Appendix 4. An amendment to the draft statement is proposed as a result of the consultation and is shown in green text. The report recommends to the committee that it considers the proposed updated statement that reflects the response received from the statutory consultation and provides relevant feedback. Subject to the feedback, recommends to Cabinet that the revised South Kesteven District Council Gambling Statement of Principles is suitable to be presented to our Council for adoption. Thank you, Leader.
No, thank you very much, Councillor Wootton, for that presentation, which was very comprehensive. Obviously, this is for us a sort of a business-as-usual process, but I think it is important that, you know, as it says in the report, that the public, businesses in our locality, and those using our establishments where gambling is available, can do so safely, and that's part of the reason why, obviously, we're here updating it today, and I'd like to thank our officers for their work on this with yourself, and to the Environment OSC Committee, who I believe also have considered this piece of work as well. Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much, Leader. Whereby which one clearly sees the update of policy on national government lines. Of course, what this policy isn't responsible for is for online gambling, and that is something that is currently very much in the news, and safeguards that are hopefully forthcoming in a white paper. It's something that I feel certainly needs strengthening and sometimes leads to very unnecessary hardship that could be otherwise avoided. So I'm quite happy to second this, Leader, but I just wanted to make those comments because I think they're not just dear to my heart, they're dear to every Cabinet members too, and officers.
No, thank you, Councillor Reid. I think, you know, we all have friends and family members that have suffered with forms of addiction, and sadly gambling is one of those addictions that affects so many people in our community, and whatever we can do to support particularly our residents in this district, you know, whether it's signposting or working with our residents through our hardship fund, I know us and our team of officers will do that to support our vulnerable residents at times. Do you have any further comments on this report? So Councillor Linder has proposed the recommendation with the amendment, I believe, in your speech, and Councillor Reid is very happy to second. Therefore, could all those please indicate those in favour? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to items for Cabinet decision which are key, and the first agenda item we have is agenda item number 5, which is the housing compensation policy, and I will hand over to Councillor Reid to present this report.
Thank you very much, Leader. I'm afraid with this particular report we have had the curse sort of labelled to it. Last time we had some of the script missing. Ladies and gentlemen, Cabinet members, I need to ask you to turn to page 85, and you will see that there needs to be an amendment to the transcript. Because what we've done here is we've used the North Hants County Council's best practice template, and I will reiterate best practice, and the corrections were made last time, but unfortunately just at this point it's gone back to the original format. So I therefore beg the leniency of correction where that's actually happened. So, in introducing our housing compensation policy, the policy is key for the Council to provide clarity to both officers and tenants for where compensation payments are appropriate. The policy highlights the Council's statutory obligations, which are right to compensation for improvements, right to repair, home loss payments and statutory disturbance payments. It also outlines the discretionary payments which cannot be for distress and inconvenience cannot be considered for compensation payment, for example, beyond the Council's control or through a third party. The compensation payments can be money or through completion of works like offering to repair flooded or redecorating situations. Within the report it shows the finance consideration and the costs the council's paid on compensation in 2021 and again in 21-22. This shows a significant increase, and the policy will support the council making these payments, clearly reducing the risks of further escalation. This is a piece of work of policy that, like many other leader, has been forthcoming for our housing department. I recommend that with those alterations that the policy now be accepted. I look forward to any debate, and I'll offer my sincere apologies because I think for the next 2 agenda items you'll have to listen to my voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. It's always a pleasure to hear your presentations. I would like to actually thank our housing team and yourself and other members that have been involved in this policy. I think it's part of our continual improvement programme with our housing stock, particularly around the work that we continue to do with the housing regulator in getting us back up to speed to where we should be. So I think I'd like to put on record my thanks for that. This policy is certainly in line with our corporate plan objectives in terms of housing that meets the needs of all residents, and of course follows expressive guidance from the regulator of social housing and the housing ombudsman. And obviously the alterations that you refer to is simply because, let's be honest, quite a number of councils have a very similar policy because it works with the housing regulator and also works with the housing ombudsman as well. So there's no point in recreating the wheel on this one. So I would like to thank the work on that one. And of course, you know, as it's already mentioned, in terms, outlines the grounds for statutory obligations and discretionary payments. And also supporting our residents. So I am very pleased that it's come today, and would of course be very happy to second this report. Do you have any further comments on this? Councillor Trollope-Bellew.
Thank you. I think I would just like to add my congratulations to the officers and to Councillor Reid for all that they have done, because it hasn't been easy. And having looked at this information, there has been a lot of work, and I would just like to congratulate everybody involved.
With no further speakers, it has been proposed and seconded with just a couple of technical updates. Therefore, would all those in favour please indicate? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, moving on to another item for Cabinet decision, which is key, which is the Housing Services Domestic Abuse Policy. And again, this report will be presented by Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much, Leader. So, our housing domestic abuse policy is to set out clearly how the Council will respond to the reports of domestic abuse, and indeed I hope it's a support for councillors, officers and indeed victims when these sad situations occur. This is through our landlord service and housing options, and it meets the requirements of the Domestic Abuse Act of 2021. It will ensure that the Council takes steps to assist and support all customers of the Council, if it can be put that way, for any person suffering the situation of domestic abuse. A key part of this is the active partnership workings with individuals and agencies, which is outlined in the policy. I must say there's a simile here between you working with partners, which we have to do with homelessness as well. It's so important that our partners and cohesion across partners actually happens. The funding for domestic abuse support worker has been sourced, and these practices will be part of our daily business for the teams. There will be training delivered via the Domestic Abuse Housing Alliance to upskill all frontline staff across the Council. Upon adoption, we will support the 25th of November White Ribbon event and the 16 days of action to follow, and encourage all to make a pledge. I recommend this to Council, to Cabinet. Thank you, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Reid. And again, this is an incredibly important policy for our council, particularly with residents that have suffered and will suffer, sadly, with domestic abuse. And you know, as much as we refer to customers, these are all individuals and people that live and reside within our district. So for me, this does support, well, at least two of our corporate plan priorities, but actually it supports the residents and those that sadly will be affected more so than anything. And I think, as you've already said, partnership working with both people and agencies will form that key role to successfully deliver this policy, which will become part of the daily business of the council, but also so residents know that we are there to support them through any instance that may affect them. So thank you for this document and to the officers as well. Councillor Wharton.
Thank you, Leader. I did wish to speak on this. Domestic abuse crosses all classes of society. Sadly, in a lot of cases, it also affects children in the crossfire. It can also result in the loss of life. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors. I appeal to anyone who is a victim of domestic abuse to reach out to SKDC or indeed to the police to seek help and advice. It is easy to say, and it's much more difficult to do, but I say don't suffer in silence, report it now. It's good to see the policy is available in other languages as well. Domestic abuse incidents rose during the pandemic, and approximately 6% of all victims are men, which might surprise some people, but it's true. I am pleased to see we have an inclusive, robust policy in place, along with the equality impact analysis, and I support this wholeheartedly. I have just one question. Our councillor colleague has spoken about being able to hire a support worker and upskill frontline staff, and I think that's very important. But do we or will we have a domestic abuse champion? Thank you, Leader.
I've got
Craig Spence showing his hand.
Thank you, Chair. If I can just come back on that query, Councillor Wootton. Our vision is for that worker to come in and obviously upskill all of our staff so that they all become domestic abuse champions. We want to ensure that that's a very robust approach and a very consistent approach across all of the team that are supporting anybody encountering such a impactful crime as domestic abuse. So that would be our vision and our aim. DAHA are, again, best practice in industry, best practice throughout housing to help us to support that. So that's our aim.
Thank you very much indeed for that. Thank you, Leader. That's really pleasing.
Okay, thank you. I think just to add on, obviously, sadly, Councillor Mason's not here with us today, but I know she's obviously been playing an active role in this as well, as a champion and supporting members, and I know she works very closely with the team as well. Councillor Orton, can I take it you're happy to second to this report? Definitely. Yeah. Are there any further speakers on this report? No? Therefore, would all those in favour of the recommendations as put on page 105 please indicate? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, we move on to agenda item number 7, which is the contract award in relation to social landlord services. And again, we hand over to Councillor Reid.
Thank you very much, Leader. So before doing so, I just need to remind people that, of course, Appendix 1 of the document is restricted. So this report outlines a key contract to ensure that we meet our statutory and regulatory, if I can say the word, obligations for our 5,900 tenanted properties for maintenance and repairs. There has been a compliant procurement process undertaken for the asbestos, surveys and analytical services contract, and this was started in the summer of 22 through the Fusion 21 framework. From the engagement with Fusion 21, Tersus has identified as being the best option. This is shown in the appendix which I refer to being exempt, and Cabinet is asked to approve the contract award for asbestos surveying and analytical services to ensure we meet the corporate plan of 2020 to 23, aim of, and the strapline, housing that meets the needs of all residents. Secondary to my leader's statement of our commitment in item 5. With enough said, Leader, I look forward to any debate and support and approval for these services to, I think it's pronounced, TERSs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Reid, for that introductory report, and obviously you've already stolen the lines about the corporate plan in terms of housing that meets the needs for everyone. But look, this is another part of our housing improvement programme in terms of our development from where we are to where we are heading. You know, obviously a key obligation of looking after our and maintaining our 5,900 properties, I think, or just under that now, is obviously the effective and compliant management of asbestos-related risks and compliant removals, and the contract is in relation to surveying and analytical services. So it is it is, I suppose, a business-as-usual report, but actually it's driving us forwards again as an organisation. So I'd like to thank the officers that have been involved in this, and obviously yourself and other members. Do you have any further comments on this one? Councillor Trollope-Bellew.
Thank you. I obviously feel that this is something that we've been waiting for, and it's been interesting reading, and I must again congratulate everybody for the information that they've provided, and it's another tick for SKDC and the Housing Department. Thank you.
Thank you. If we have no further comments on this agenda item, then I'm very happy to second the recommendation on page 135. Could I please have all those in favour, please indicate? And that is unanimous. Thank you very much. Therefore, we move on to items for the Cabinet decision, which are non-key. And we have agenda item number 8, which is the Grantham Park tennis courts. And I believe that this report is going to be delivered by Councillor Trollope-Bellew.
Thank you very much. I am pleased to present this report today, detailing the work the Council has undertaken with both the Lawn Tennis Association and Grantham Tennis Club in securing funding for the refurbishment of the tennis courts at Wyndham Park. A key priority within the Council's corporate plan of 2020-2023 is investing in the health of our local communities and improving our parks and open spaces. Also, within the Council's Sport and Physical Activity Strategy, adopted in 2021, the Council committed to increasing levels of physical activity, providing increased opportunities for residents to take up activity and removing any barriers to participation. Whilst it has not been possible to secure sufficient funding to refurbish the tennis courts at both Wyndham and Dysart Park at this time, the Lawn Tennis Association have confirmed that there is sufficient funding to fully cover the refurbishment costs of the 2 courts at Wyndham Park at a cost of approximately £57,000. This would include the upgrade of the court surfaces, replacing nets, replacing perimeter fencing and installing a smart access gate system. As part of the proposed arrangements in securing the funding, Grantham Tennis Club would promote the use of the tennis courts to the local community and will be facilitating Tennis for Free, which is a scheme where residents can take part in free coaching sessions, removing the barrier to physical activity. The paper before you today outlines the approach we wish to take in refurbishing the 2 courts at Wyndham Park, which would prevent their long-term closure under health and safety grounds. It also sets out future plans for the refurbishment of the court within Dysart Park should future match funding become available, the success of Wyndham Park courts and also the Lawn Tennis Association Parks funding available at the time. The recommendations of the report are that the Cabinet provides delegated authority to the Director of Growth and Culture to enter into a 15-year leasehold agreement with Grantham Tennis Club in relation to the 2 courts at Wyndham Park, Grantham. Provides delegated authority to the Section 151 officer to accept the offer of 100% grant funding in the sum of approximately £57,000 from the Lawn Tennis Association to refurbish the 2 tennis courts in Wyndham Park, Grantham. Provides delegated authority to the 151 officer to utilise money from the Grantham Special Expenses area to cover the sinking fund and gate maintenance costs for a 3-year period amounting to £8,428, and requests a review after 12 months from completion of the refurbishment of Wyndham Park, Grantham, before proceeding into an agreement to refurbish the one court at Dysart Park, Grantham, should match funding be made available. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank Michael Chester for all the work that he has done in this particular area. Thank you, Chairman.
Well, if I can firstly say, I mean, it is fantastic and really positive news for Grantham in developing this offering within Wyndham Park. You know, to have 2 state-of-the-art community access tennis courts with 100% grant funding is fantastic news, and very much need a community facility to replace the current courts, which are at the end of their life cycle. And I think by working in partnership with the Lawn Tennis Association and the very successful Grantham Tennis Club, it really is supporting our residents. So I think this is fantastic news for the town. Obviously, with Wyndham Park maintaining its green flag status as well, I think it really is a key attribute to be proud of in Grantham, and hopefully we can get further match funding in the future to improve other tennis courts across the town. So I'd like to thank everybody involved in this, because it is really good news for us as a town and as a wider district. Councillor Whittington.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Leader, and thank you for the report. Yeah, I've been contacted by a couple of my residents inquiring about the current state of the tennis courts at Wyndham Park. So I was delighted to inform them of these proposals, which I think is really important and beneficial for the people of Grantham. It's really good to see the council working in conjunction with both the Lawn Tennis Association and Grantham Tennis Club. It's a great example of different organisations working together in a really positive way to encourage tennis in the town and physical activity. So, I'd be more than happy to second this report. Thank you.
Councillor Stokes, then, please.
Yes, thank you, Leader. As the County Councillor that covers this area, I'm obviously delighted that we're getting this investment from the Lawn Tennis Association. It certainly will improve the facilities at the park. I do hope in the future we are able to do Dysart Park as well, because I know they're there in a state. But this is excellent news, and it's not costing the Grantham taxpayer, only the sinking fund, any additional money. So I'm delighted with this.
Do you have any further comments on this report? No, it has been proposed and seconded, so would all those please indicate their support in favour then, please? And that is unanimous. Therefore, moving on to items for information, which is agenda item number 9, which is the Cabinet Forward Plan for the period of the 31st of October 2022 to the 30th of October 2023. Do we have any comments or alterations to the plan we have before us? No. Therefore, this report is just for noting. So, therefore, that concludes our Cabinet business for today. And actually, it was quite nice to finish on a really positive news story with the Grantham Park tennis courts. And I'd like to thank everybody for attending. And I look forward to seeing you all at our next meeting in December.